My name is Anna, and this is Anna Noel Reads. We finally have a channel name, which is super exciting. It took me a while to come up with that, and it's super creative being my name in the word reads, but hey, I'll take it. So we're not we're not filming with ideal conditions right now. It's a Monday evening. The spouse has left to go see a movie with some friends, and he's usually the one who sets it up for me. And there's a complication. You can probably see it in the corner, but there's like an arm. I'm just too tired to deal with that, to be honest. And I just want to do like a quick reading update. They'll probably yammer on for like 30 minutes, but we'll see. You'll also have to excuse my hair because I had the audacity to go outside in the middle of June in Georgia. So, there's that. I'll say when I moved to DC, I tell this story all the time, so it's not really that interesting. But when I first moved to DC, I moved in March. It was wintry still. It ended up being the first week of spring when I moved. The first day of spring was the first week that I moved there. And I got to leave work early because my manager was going to be out of town. And so I went to the mall so that I could see the Capitol and the monuments and go to some museums. But it snowed on the first day of spring, which for my little Georgia heart was not a thing ever at all. Like not even slightly. And I was only wearing these kind of awful ballet flats, so I was genuinely worried I was going to get frostbite on my little toesies. And I did not make enough money to deal with that at that time. I also didn't have housing at that point. Those are all stories for another day, if we ever want to get into that. Why did I start? Oh, okay. I started off on that tangent because since I moved in March, I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe humidity to the extreme that I'm used to, having grown up in the like southeast, maybe that's just a southeastern thing. And I had just finished my jaunt in Florida for the Disney College program, which was like 8 months of Florida weather, so there was that. And then lo and behold, people were like, they were like, just wait until the humidity of the summer. And I was so disappointed to learn that it was not, in fact, just a southeastern Georgia thing. Or not just Georgia, but just southeastern US. And apparently is all over the world, which I think I don't know, I thought since it gets colder further up north, that the humidity and the summers wouldn't be as bad, which is probably true to some extent, but DC is does not fall within that at all. My husband and I like to say that it was the worst of both worlds because it would get about as hot as Georgia over the summer, maybe like a degree cooler on average, but then it would get much colder in the winter, and it doesn't even snow that much. So there's all of that to say that I just don't think it's possible to have a good hair day with my hair, at least, in this, I guess from like Maryland down. I haven't spent a lot of time above Maryland in the summer, but Maryland down to Florida, Mexico. If there is, I haven't figured it out yet. And this is all really neither here nor there because this is not a hair channel. But that is just, please pardon my little curly whirls up there. My hair is also doing this fun thing as I'm trying to like fade out the color, where some of it's like this lavender gray color, which may not be the best color for my skin tone, but I don't really care. I think it's super cool. But then some of it's kind of just faded to blonde, and then some of it has faded just the purple parts, but not the red parts that she used. So we've got a whole mishmash, and that's cool. So I finished The Only Purple House in Town last night. I asked my friend Katie to read it with me, and I don't know where she is. And I feel bad because I didn't love it, but I hope she likes it. It is a cozy romance esque. It's kind of light. Like there is romance, but and there is some supernatural. It's not really. I guess it's like slightly fantasy. So like cozy romantasy ish. I don't really read that much romantasy. I don't read a lot of cozy books either. Um, so I'm just gonna say it, but I feel like that's what other reviews were saying. But basically, it's about this woman named Iris who is in a family of emotional vampires, but they're also abusive for the most part, neglectful, awful, whatnot, except for one sister and kind of her dad. That I guess is complicated, and the book really doesn't get into the the dynamics or the nuances of the fact that her family is abusive. Like her mother is emotionally abusive, and her sisters, except for the one sister. Iris doesn't fully fit in with her family because she's not successful like everyone else is. She dropped out of college and has a bunch of loans. She's tried a bunch of business endeavors that haven't worked out. And so she inherits this house from a great aunt, and her initial thought is to turn it into an Airbnb. But then she realizes that that's maybe not the best plan for right now, so she decides to rent out the other rooms. And then she ends up renting out one of the rooms to Eli, who is our other POV. And Eli is a hawk shifter that doesn't have a lot of family connections. He was orphaned pretty young and grew up with his grandma, that he calls Gamma, it's like a pin. We're going off on a tangent again. And it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter at all. But it just like how my brain said that was like a pin, like a needle to my brain every time. It just was like I don't even know, which is an extreme reaction. And that was just, I think I was just already not fully feeling it. I think Eli as a character and I got off on the wrong foot real quick. And if you read the Goodreads reviews, there is quite a bit of that. So I'm going to look up some of my quotes that I highlighted and made notes of, which I think my most common note written was ew, red flag, gross, oh my gosh, stalker. Ew was absolutely the main note that I had. Red flag was probably the second most common one. His deal is that Iris saved him from a bully in like elementary school, and he has basically fixated on her ever since. And she doesn't remember him when they meet, and so under false pretenses, he moves in, kind of in a like, oh no, this just kind of happened. The synopsis describes it as like getting swept up into the Iris verse, which, sure, but I feel like any other person, sane person, real person, would have been like, oh, I don't need housing. I just think I remember you, blah, 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 explains the story. That's not what happened because we have a romance novel. We also learn very early on that Eli has been keeping tabs on Iris since they were in elementary school. I mean, now we have social media, so it's pretty easy to do, but he states that he checks up on her social media at least monthly, maybe only once monthly because he doesn't want to go too far, which is interesting. He also states that, you know, he doesn't want to be a creep or a stalker, and he knows this is kind of creepy stalkerish behavior, but like if he explains it, it'll come out weird because he says things weird or weird and wrong a lot because he's awkward, which is fair enough. It's fair enough. But I feel like you could have, you know, it's just the false pretenses, the starting out with a lie, being kind of weird and creepy and stalkery. I don't know. I think it's a red flag at least. So let's see what we have. Oh, gross. Okay. This is so bad. So one of my first actual note was for the line, Eli got out his phone, stared at her number for a moment, then quietly changed Iris's contact info to dream come true. And my note was bleg. Blah. I guess that's more how you would say it. Which I stand by. This was on chapter 3 at the very end. So we were pretty early on. And I was not feeling that. I thought that was gross. I mean, because like, you're saying you're not the creepy stalker, but like that feels a little bit like creepy stalkerish behavior. Also, what if she finds your phone? That's weird. Yeah, the next chapter he's like, it would have been simple to square everything away, but no. And now look, you made it worse. Yet part of him also simmered with excitement. Becoming Iris's roommate would allow him to get to know her without her suspecting that he'd known her for most of his life. Regrettably, the opposite wasn't true, but she might like him if they spent time together. And then, once they became friends, he could mention the fact that they had gone to elementary school together. Casually, though, like he just remembered. In time, he could work up to thanking her for what she did back then. So my comment for the becoming Iris's roommate would allow him to get to know her without her suspecting that he'd known her for most of his life was a red flag. Am I supposed to find this endearing or charming? Because the answer was no, I did not. I did not find that endearing or charming. I'm trying not to be too mean with this review. I finished it. Like, I'll just go ahead and say I rated it 2 stars. I finished it. There were even a moment where I was kind of looking forward to reading it as something cozier and lighter than some of the other stuff I've been reading recently, and especially in contrast to I Who Have Never Known Men, very, very different tonally. And so that was nice. So like, I don't want to just like rag on it the whole time. I'm not sure if cozy fantasy books are really for me. I feel like they just always feel too sappy, too sweet, too like overly sweet, like saccharine, like, and like a Hallmark movie. And I don't really like Hallmark movie. Like they just feel too cheesy for me. And I don't even like saying that because I don't want to be like, oh, well, like I'm better than people who like those things, which is not true at all. It's just not my taste. I also I've never really liked romances that are just straight romances. If it's a book I like it when a book or movie or TV show has that romantic element, but it's not the whole part. And that's been true since I was in high school. And I've just never been a Hallmark Channel or Lifetime movie girly. Loved me some DComs though, but that is a different subject. So I'm just not sure if I was really the target audience fully, but I also think, like, I don't want to just be mean and rag on it and be overly critical, but I also think, it was imperfect. There were definitely some things that other reviewers noted, and I don't think was just like, oh, reading it to hate it or whatnot, because I feel like there can be some loss in the nuance and all of that. And just because you don't like something doesn't mean that you judge people who do like it, or like you think they're stupid or whatnot. And I think starting this channel, that's something I am really anxious about, because I don't like confrontation. But I don't know, like, you like what you like, and I don't want anyone to feel bad for that. And I think if you're reading, that's great. And I also know that there's like a whole thing with misogyny and deeming like women stuff. People referred to this as chick lit in a bunch of Goodreads reviews, and I struggled with that. And I know like there's that too, and so like I don't want to disparage any of that, or not take that into account with these. So all these things are going on in my head for this little book. Oh, am I just gonna read all of the things I highlighted? That's crazy. Okay. He said, hell, he'd measure his own to keep her smiling with such delight. Not a thought he'd ever expected to have, but Iris had a way of doing that to him. And my comment was, which I also stand by. Because it felt very jarring to have that language, I guess, and then, you know, just him mentioning that in this like cozy romantasy that is not spicy either. Like, it's not like in 30 pages when they hook up, which doesn't happen. That's not a spoiler. That was just an example that you're getting all these explicit scenes. Like, that's not happening. So I was a little jarred by that, and that was also in chapter 4. It just felt a little preachy, even though I agreed it was, okay, here we go. This is an example. Preachy, because the line was, that was the benefit of shopping at a store like this one instead of a big box place. Learning people's names and feeling like part of the community. And so my note was, this is at least the second weirdly preachy statement, and we were in chapter 7 at that point. And then I took a break from highlighting because I don't know what was going on. Okay, sorry. Saw another I wrote. It's great when you think you're funny on your own. So hope y'all do too. So there was some of that. A lot of it was very heavy-handed, very on the nose, very like beating you with the stick of the message, and so that was a little annoying. I think, even though I agree, like, yeah, it's easy enough to use someone's preferred pronouns or name because, like, if someone introduces themselves as Ronald, but everyone calls me Butch, you would go with Butch. This is the older man character explaining this to Iris, our main character. Like, yes, I mean, obviously, I agree with that. Yeah, I don't have, like, but even agreeing with those things, like that instance was fine, but excuse me, there are just other examples where it was like, okay, well, this is why people get annoyed. Like, this is too much. You can rein it in. Like, we can figure this out for ourselves. That being said, I loved that, like, pretty much every character was LGBTQ IA plus of some sort. Not, I don't know if Eli was, but I thought that was cool. I liked that. There were things that I didn't really like, the happy HAPI, which was their like MAGA, but for supernaturals. That wasn't, it was there, but it wasn't like a huge part of the plot. The main antagonist was the awful neighbor who was just like, oh my God, what's the phrase? There we go. Cartoonishly evil and prejudiced and the worst Karen neighbor you could ever have. As were kind of Iris's mom and sister, also kind of cartoonishly evil, which maybe is just what cozy books have. I don't know. So again, I'm trying to keep it all in the back of my head. Like, I don't read a lot of these. This is maybe the second I've read over time. I didn't particularly enjoy the first one either. That was the Very Irregular Society of Witches. And that one was fine as well. I think I liked this one slightly more, mainly just because of the conflict. I liked the like living in a group home with these characters. I thought that was cute. Like Henry Dale, even though I did not like his name. He was grumpy but precious, I guess. And there was the boisterous recently divorced woman who had been married to a man for her whole adult life, basically, and now was trying dating women. That was cool. But the supernatural stuff, like when I was starting it, every time I would go back to it and then Eli would mention shifting, I'd be like, wait, what? Because he could shift into a hawk. And this is technically like the fourth book in a series, and by that I mean it's like a spin-off book, really. I haven't read the other ones. I didn't know about that. Someone mentioned, or a few people mentioned, that the cover was different from the other book, so it wasn't obvious, even though they had read those. And looking at the covers for the other books, like, wow, this is vastly different. So that's also interesting. I don't think you really needed to read the other ones to get this, but I mean, maybe I'm missing something because I didn't read them. The magical elements were interesting. I think the description said she had a house full of like supernatural beings, and really it was just one person moves in who's a witch, and then Eli's a shifter, and Iris comes from a family of emotional vampires, but doesn't seem to have any powers of her own. And that's it. And so that's like 3 people that were missing with powers. So I was kind of hoping, I think when I read it, I was expecting there to be more than just that. So I think that was maybe a bit of a missed opportunity. I guess it could have been more into the story than it was. And it wasn't really explained too much, like how the genetics of these things work. And I don't know if that was really needed anyway, but it just wasn't. I will say besides Eli being creepy and a red flag, the money bit was frustrating because it didn't seem like Iris knows how money works at all. I guess this is a mild spoiler. She finds out that someone has money and she's like, oh, they must have a private plane. When earlier that person had been like, I don't care if it's $10 million for like what he would get paid. So it feels like those aren't necessarily on the same level. It's like, Iris, do you know how much a private plane would cost? Like, are we talking like a jet? Like, do you think they're at like Taylor Swift level? Anyways, so there was that. She was also super broke and indebted, apparently, but kept giving people discounts on rent if they did stuff around the house. It's like, well, what's the point of having a roommate then? Or like all of these roommates, if you're just gonna give everyone a discount when you need the money, and you talk about that constantly, about how you need the money. So that was a little annoying. So I didn't really like Iris or Eli all that much. Definitely didn't like Eli. Iris was a little better, I guess, but you know, she inherits a house and then becomes a landlord, so there's that. And she also starts a jewelry business instead of finding a job while she's apparently like completely broke and just living off credit card. I don't know. Maybe I'm expecting too much realism from my supernatural cozy romantasy book that I just read, but I was still infuriated throughout parts of it. And so the quote that I laughed at was Eli saying, and I don't know if secrecy is the answer. And then I said, that's rich, you hawk bitch. So, whoopsies. I don't like to use that word unless it's for men. So I probably shouldn't put that in the video, but whatever. Okay. mild spoiler, I guess. Was still cuddling her like he had nothing else to do for the rest of the day. And I said, he literally doesn't. Also, he's a stalker. And I will say that he's not like a hardcore, like that feels like an apologist thing. I don't know. I feel like that the book just kind of waved it away. It was like, oh, everyone creepily looks up people they used to know on Facebook or Instagram. And like he literally says that to her at one point. And it's like, Yeah, maybe on occasion, like once every couple of years. You don't like stalk their profiles every month and limit yourself because you're worried you're gonna be creepy. There's a difference. There's a difference. Let's see. Eli wanted to comfort them, but honestly, Iris looked so shell shocked. Oh, that's a tough word. Wow. Shell shocked that she was his first priority. She always would be, even if she wanted nothing more to do with him after she found out why he was really here. And then I said, that is creepy. So, I just feel like it was very intense. There were a lot of intense Edward Cullen-y vibes from Eli, which are not things that me in my 30s think are romantic and cute now. I see them as red flags. So let's see if there's another one. Oh, here was the other preachy comment. It wasn't safe to answer the phone while she drove, at least not without a headset, and she didn't bother with such things. Which, with a headset, that's hands-free, Bluetooth? Like, who's driving? Well, I think this was a little bit older. Not that old, but still, that was like a weirdly preachy, like, don't we all know that already? Like, this isn't being targeted towards teenage. This is like for adults, right? Like, I didn't react. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I rolled my eyes when Iris said, "You're my boyfriend. You have to say that." And as soon as she said that, she pressed both hands to her mouth, eyes wide. This is why I don't think this is the genre for me, because I just roll my eyes at things like that. It's like, I get it, but I mean, she's supposed to be in like her 30s. She's not a teenager. And then there's linking his arms to make her feel even warmer and more cherished. And I wrote gag for that. And then I got really angry at the like climax of the book with the conflict, because I thought that they were reacting kind of stupidly, but that's okay. Also, she does not understand money. Oh, here we go. Eli kept a watchful eye on Iris from across the room, ever attentive in case she needed to be extricated from an awkward conversation. But he never pushed, and she loved that about him. And I said, ew. And I stand by that as well, because can you not, like, you also know these people, and she is an adult. Like, I get it. I guess it hasn't been established that she feels very awkward or like socially awkward, or that she struggles. Maybe I missed it, if so. So it feels like a weirdly, I'm gonna be a chivalrous Prince Charming and protect the lady who can't protect herself kind of thing, rather than like, oh, that's sweet. It feels like that's like clingy and kind of territorial, maybe. I don't know. It's like she can take care of herself. Kind of. I mean, I guess she didn't really during the book, but oops. Let's see. Also, like, he pressed a quick kiss to her mouth, likely to stop her from saying something derogatory about herself. It was cute when he did that. I said you did that too. Oh, here we go. Here's the Eddie Cullen vibes. After a couple of hours, she darted off to steal a few quiet moments in the kitchen. And of course, Eli found her, because he was drawn to her like a lodestone. I don't know what that is, and I didn't look it up. Or maybe I did when I read it, but I'm not looking it up now because I'm using my phone as a camera. Sorry. Because he was drawn to her like a lodestone. Can't function without me, huh? Not really, he admitted. I love you, she said. I love you too. And I said, ew, red flag alert. Which I also agree with. Still, stand by it. I don't know. I'm not going to give up on the cozy books quite yet, because I do think they're nice. I know some people said that Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter was cozy, and I liked that one. Actually, it didn't have all the cheesiness. Maybe it did. I don't know. Maybe it's the cats. Maybe I just liked the characters or the writing better. I'm not sure. This just wasn't for me. I hope Katie likes it because she bought it. Sorry, Katie. Sorry I made you read this with me. Oh, here's my, should put this earlier on. Like, some spoilers warning, but it is romance, so, you know. Some of the characters were fun. The house was kind of cool. Could have done more with the house. There was some, but, you know, purple Victorian house. That's awesome. I want to know more about her great aunt, Gertie, I think. Tell me more about her. Did she and Helen have a thing? Because I couldn't tell if this was like, oh, we're giving romance vibes, or romance vibes, or if it's like, oh, I'm just truly sad that my close friend passed. But it seemed like she had someone that lived with her. So I just want to know more about that. It felt like Iris was interested, but we didn't actually find out. And maybe there'll be like a spinoff for that. I don't know. I'd maybe read that because she was cool. It sounded like, or at least interesting. And she never married, which is also interesting. Like, how is she related to the family? Anyways, so that was the only purple house in town, which I think had our male main character had some red flags. Honestly, Iris did too. But there's some great representation of both, not just white cishet people, so that's cool. There's some magic, not enough, but that's cool. The only real cute animal, there's no cute animal. There's like a mention of a cat, but that cat should have come back. The cat was cool. Also, we never really got another scene with Helen. I feel like we should have had that too. This has turned into a bit of a rant. I kind of thought it would be, because even though I was like, oh, I'm not stressed by this book at all because it's cozy. Like, I know everything's going to work out. But I still got angry because some things just didn't make sense. And I just felt like I was being preached to. I didn't like that. Like, I'm being lectured about things I already agree with. So, as I mentioned earlier, I've also been reading I Who Have Never Known Men. I'm almost done with it, and that is, like, that would require its own video, because that's just, or at least a different tone of a video, like other books to talk about, because that is harrowing, depressing, just kind of like, not because it's gross, but it just like makes me shudder a little bit because it's just of what it is. But it's really interesting, and I want to keep, like, I kept trying to take a break to read something else for my own emotional well-being, but there's not really chapters because it's short, and so I just kept going. I was like, no, I gotta stop. But then last night I started reading Hangs a Man by Shirley Jackson. I've read a couple of her other books and a couple of her short stories, and I've enjoyed all of those. I've read We've Always Lived in the Castle and The Haunting of Hill House, and I did enjoy both of those. I had my husband read The Haunting of Hill House, and I want to make him watch the We've Always Lived in the Castle movie, mostly because Sebastian. I just enjoyed it. Sebastian Stan's in it. He's fun. His characters, maybe less fun, but anyways, I'm very intrigued by it so far. So it's about this, I think she's 17, 17-year-old girl named Natalie who lives with an interesting family, and she's about to go off to the college her father picked for her, which it's in the 50s, so I guess that makes sense. But that was just an interesting thing that I hadn't thought of, but obviously that makes sense. I mean, people still kind of do that now, I guess. You go to the school your parents want you to go to, at least for some people. And it's interesting so far. So I will have more to say about that later, but I don't have anything right now. We read through chapter 4 of Assassin's Apprentice. We just met the assassin, the titular assassin, I think. Yes, we did. We definitely did. So that's interesting. So I think it's gonna pick up soon, because it's been mostly like setting the scene and the story and everything. It's been interesting, but I think it's gonna start rolling a little bit more. So that's exciting. We're gonna read 2 chapters this week, so that's also exciting. Oh, and I've been working through Mother Thing because I have a hard copy of that. And I still haven't set up a reading light for when I read in bed. So that's a Kobo only time for now. Oh, I guess Mother Thing is this woman and her husband move into her mother-in-law's house to help take care of her. And then when she dies, the mother-in-law is haunting both of them in different ways, is according to the synopsis. So far, I'm not too far in. It's just over there, but I'm not gonna go get it. But when I talk about it next time, I'll try to hold it. So I've got a nice little prop because I didn't bring my knitting or my crochet. That's okay. So far, we just got to a point where it's like, oh, okay, this might be something happening. But for the most part, it's just her husband, Ralph, saying like, oh, what'd you say? And then she's in another room and didn't say anything. So just hints like that. And our main character is seeing weird things that remind her of the mother-in-law's ring. So that's interesting. It's one of the Bookish Reading Challenge books. I don't remember the category name, but I think it was one of the like weirder ones, which I can see. It's definitely interesting. So I'm interested to see where that goes, but I'm enjoying that as well. I don't have any audiobooks. I've got Understory as an e-arc from NetGalley, thanks to them, by Chloe Benjamin. I don't really remember what that one's about. I think it's something with Antarctica and something about an ex-husband and a different land or world or like a portal. I don't know. And then I still have The Shadow Rising, which is the Fourth Wheel of Time book. I'll go to that every now and then. I'm slowly chipping away at it just because I feel overwhelmed by the sheer length. But now we're down to about 16 hours left. So that makes it feel more doable. But I also just reached a chapter with 2 characters that I am not a fan of their relationship. And my favorite character is also in these chapters. And they are just causing a ruckus for sweet, sweet Loyal. And it makes me hate them even more. And I don't even hate Perrin for the most part, but I hate him with Fail. I don't know. It's just like every time they have an argument, I'm like, I didn't need to read this. Just cut the like 40 pages out. I am really enjoying the book overall, though. It is more of a like, oh, I need to like take a moment to get into it or like get back into it just because there is so much going on and it's like such a rich and immersive world and there's so many characters, and I still think a lot of the characters are annoying, but I think they're toning it down a little bit as they're growing and progressing. And so I'm excited about that. And it's my husband's favorite series, so I'm enjoying it. I'm just annoyed by Fail and Perrin and their constant bickering. Like, what a toxic relationship. Maybe it gets better. I don't know. I don't ship it. I'm gonna go eat dinner, which is certainly gonna be a girl dinner of like hard-boiled eggs and potatoes, probably. If I can scrounge around for a vegetable, I will. Let's see. And we'll see what we do next. I'm still working on my thinking about, at least. I'm still working on thinking about. I've looked into a little bit. I've done some very, very minor research into Atlanta bookstores that are accessible by MARTA. There are a lot of bookstores in Atlanta, like in the Atlanta area, ITP. So we may have to cut that down a little bit because it's a lot. But it would be kind of cool to go to all of, or as many as I can. We'll think about that. But yeah, so that's still something I'm thinking about and want to do. Yeah, thanks so much for hanging out with me. My name is Anna. This is Anna Noel Reads. Please like, comment, subscribe, share. I'm on Instagram and Threads, though I'm not very active on there yet. Kind of just started those accounts as I just started this one. If you have any book recs or anything you want me to read or talk about, I would love that. Thank you so much for being here. I don't know if it's like really coming across as genuine, but I really appreciate anyone who's watching this or liking or whatever. I really do want this to be a fun, easy breezy thing still, and I do think filming is kind of fun, even though I get stressed with the like, oh, does my hair look okay? Like, should I put on makeup? Do I have something to talk about? Stuff like that. But just thank you so much if you're here, like for being here, for joining, for checking it out. And yeah, I hope you'll come back for our next video, and we'll see you soon. Bye. Little Ryan again. He came up as soon as I got up. Say hi, buddy. Come on. Yeah. Who's a good little model? Yeah. That's you. He trotted right over. He's so sweet. Could have sat on my lap, but that's okay. Yeah, maybe one day we'll meet Astro in these videos. All right. Thanks, everyone.